Life and death, it's all a dance. Talking love and giving chance. Laughs and tears, we're here to share. Join us now, we're always there.
I'm a train wreck.
Hi, Trainwreck.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm okay, other than train wreck.
Why are you a train wreck?
It's one of those days. I literally never nap because I don't get to nap, and I fell asleep on the couch like 10 minutes ago for like probably a minute because then I woke up and I was like, shit, did I miss the entire podcast?
Are you not a napper?
I mean, I want to be a napper.
Oh, I'm a napper. Beth's not a napper. She doesn't like it.
She will.
I hope she does, because I'm very much looking forward to whenever our baby is sleeping regularly someday being a nap person again, as if the baby's already here. I was very tired yesterday after I didn't get any sleep, so I don't know how the whole no sleep thing is going to go for me.
Well, you'll learn really quick.
Our guest today is going to teach us a lot about the British language because she is our first British guest that we're going to have.
Yay, I'm excited.
My niece Ellie texted me this morning and said, "Am I the first British person to come on your podcast?" And I said, "Yes, you are." We are going to talk to Ellie about being the child of divorced parents, especially during COVID. And obviously, we're not going to get too much into the specifics of that because I think divorce is hard for everyone, parents, kids. I did want to get her perspective on it and then talk to her a little bit about mental health and being independent and going to university by herself, which she started in September. And then just a little bit about kind of mental health in England versus the US, if we can crack her open.
I am actually very curious about that because I do have a few people that we kind of jump back and forth, coaches that are over there. And it's interesting to me, the differences with the healthcare system, because I knew nothing about it until you, but also the mental health.
There's the girl. Hi, Ellie.
Hello.
You are our first British
I
guest.
am.
That's so exciting.
There is nobody, including my wife, that I would rather have as my first British guest. And I want that to go on record.
You did say that to me as well, so I can verify that you said that.
Are you sure you wouldn't
Yeah.
prefer to have that Rachel Rice girl? Is that her?
Rachel Weisz. Oh, good shout, Ellie. You're off. You're done.
Good one. That was good. I'm impressed with that.
Ellie, one of the things that I had said that I wanted to touch base with you on or talk about was your parents separated during COVID. Is that right?
It was just before, but it was like while
Just before.
during COVID, the whole moving out of the house thing happened.
I had said this to Jenna before you came on, but I obviously divorce and separation is hard for everyone, your parents, you guys. I wanted to get your perspective because I think a lot of times in, these type of settings, we talk about adults who have decided to get a divorce or adults who are 10 years post their parents getting divorced. But if you are willing, I would love for you to share your perspective on being the oldest of three and what that experience looked like for you and going through COVID for that, because your rules were much different than ours in the US as far as like time you could spend with people.
I think, obviously, as you said, it is difficult for everyone, like the parents and kids and everything. But as the oldest, I found it absolutely awful because I thought like I was almost responsible for my siblings. During COVID, it was obviously we had really, really harsh rules at the beginning. And our dad had just moved out and we were living with our mum. And my bedroom was always downstairs. So it was kind of like me and my dad were sleeping downstairs and then he moved out, whereas everyone else was upstairs. So I was like getting used to being downstairs on my own and not having someone to like wake me up in the morning. Then COVID hit, I think it was like a month after he moved out. And it was all of a sudden from living with him to not seeing him for like properly for 3 months straight because we weren't allowed to see anyone. And then it was, you had to stay socially distant. So I remember having like socially distanced picnics with him in our garden. It was pretty rubbish timing, but I think we managed to get past it.
So there you were not allowed to like visit anyone that wasn't in your home. You weren't allowed to.
No, not at all. They introduced the rule of meeting up as like a group of 6. I think it was 6 months after. So obviously there's 5 of us, so that was fine and we could go on a walk and everything. But because we were in different households, we weren't allowed to see each other.
I can't imagine how difficult that was.
Yeah.
So in that time, would you do something as far as like FaceTime or phone calls?
It was quite weird because obviously you can do all the texting, the FaceTime, the phone calls and all of that, but it's absolutely not the same as obviously living with someone. But I think in a way it's kind of prepared me to move to university, because I went for a long period of time without seeing one of my parents. So I thought like moving away is kind of the same as doing that. And obviously with the perk of getting all the independence in the world and getting to move away and make loads of friends and everything.
I can't remember how old you were when I met you, but obviously you were younger than you are now. But you very much did take on like that role of feeling like I think you had to be responsible for your siblings. And I think Beth had told you at one point that the three of you were the only constants as you were kind of
Yeah.
going back and forth between homes. Has your relationship with your younger siblings changed at all from the time that your parents first split to now, would you
I
say?
absolutely do think so. And I think that thing that Auntie Beth said to me about us three being constants, as soon as she said that to me, I think it completely changed my perspective on the fact that whether we're with our mum, whether we're with our dad, wherever we are, we're all together. And if something like bad happened or if something happy happened, we got to experience it together. After she said that, I think it did kind of mean more to me, because at the start of the divorce it was very much like we were like normal siblings. We do still argue, we are like, obviously that's going to happen, but I feel like we're a lot more close. And since the start to now, I think we've got a lot better relationship, because I think they do kind of see me as like not as a parent, but as like the reliable one to come to.
Do you like that role, or is it sometimes a bit much?
I absolutely loved it, because I think obviously I want to be a pediatric nurse, and I think helping younger people, I think I absolutely adore it. But I think especially during my A levels, that was a really, really rough time, because I was revising so much. I had so much to do. I was thinking about so much all the time. And then I had like the reliability for two younger siblings. And then when obviously my dad moved out, four younger siblings, and it kind of just all got a bit much.
Really quickly, for anybody that doesn't know what A levels are, I can't help you because I still don't really understand. But revising is studying.
Yeah.
I have learned that.
That's awesome, because I thought it was a paper that she was revising, and I was like, "Oh, they must have to submit a really big paper."
Do you not know the word
So there was
revising? It's
We say studying.
oh my god.
we say
Okay.
studying.
Hmm.
Yeah. But now I know, and now I'm just gonna use it and confuse the heck out of everybody else.
And what are the A-level equivalents in America?
I think they're the SATs, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, so your test to get into
It's
college?
Yeah. It's when you're
but
18.
college
Yeah.
so college here, Jen, is the last 2 grades of high school in
Yeah.
the States.
What?
University, Ellie's at
Okay.
university, so she's
Okay.
in what we would call college. And also, in case you were wondering, pants are underwear, so don't talk to a child about their pants.
I'm so confused right now. That's a lot. There was a lot that just happened in this conversation. I'm trying to stay with revision. I'm just gonna stay with that, because so you go to high school for 2 years, and then the last 2 years is your uni.
Well, my school was really weird, and we went to middle school. So we had lower school, middle school, high school, but it was called like secondary school. So I did year 9, 10, 11, 12 and 13. So 12 and 13 was sixth form, which I think you would call, what would you call that?
Like senior high school, I
Okay.
think.
And then we go to university, which is college for you.
And Ellie, I think that at times you have put a lot of pressure on yourself because of the fact that when Beth said, "Oh, you guys are the constant," I think you have taken on that role of making sure that the three of you are consistent with no matter what roof you're under, making sure that your younger siblings are doing the same things in terms of following the rules under each roof. Because I know I've sort of observed some conversations with the three of you where you've had to say to them, well, you wouldn't be able to do that at mom's, so you can't do that here, or something along those
Yeah.
lines. So I think you've at times, you've had to grow up really fast. And I think you've always been mature, but I think that experience, I imagine, because I guess I came along when you guys were already going through the process of your parents' separation. So I don't know what the dynamic was like before that, but I know for myself, like when my parents got divorced, I think that is something that sort of makes you grow up a little bit
Yeah,
faster,
definitely.
especially if you're back and forth between households.
Yeah, I think, as you said, I found it really interesting, obviously, that you'd observed it. But I do think in my head, I thought of myself as being a bit bossy almost towards my siblings, because if we were like at my mum's, I'd be like, oh yeah, but dad wouldn't let us do that. But then if we're at dad's, and I think I didn't want them to get in trouble, so I would kind of be like, okay, you do this, you do that, and then because they'd be doing what I knew to be right, they wouldn't get in trouble. So I think I did kind of take on a bit of the blame and try and protect them a bit. And I think it has kind of got to a point that I'm a bit like overprotective at some points, but I think it's kind of just a habit.
And that's okay.
You mentioned briefly your independence that you gained whenever you went away to university, which is where you are now. I want to get into that experience with you, but sort of transitioning from the conversation of your siblings, you had a lot of anxiety in leaving
Mhm.
the younger two
Yeah.
and not being able to be that constant. So how has that experience been for you, and how have you felt sort of as you guys have all adjusted to that new normal?
For me, especially being the one moving away, I think the first couple of weeks were absolutely awful, because I think they dropped me off and then they went back to their own lives, and it was what was normal for them. And I'm absolutely in no way, shape, or form saying they forgot about me, but they still had school to go to. They still like did everything back at home as they normally would. But I did not hear from them anywhere near as much as I thought I would, or obviously going from living to them again to not
And it doesn't help that your brother never answers his text messages.
ever.
Never.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
But I think it does help that obviously FaceTime's a thing. So I FaceTime my little sister pretty much every day now. And I hear from my brother when he decides to answer his phone. But it was quite a hard transition, but I think they've coped really, really well. And it's kind of like almost like a proud mum, but not mum.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
that. That's exactly what I was gonna say. It sounds to me like you've set them up with such a good
Yeah.
foundation that they're able to tackle these problems. So rather than reaching out to you all the time, not seeing that as like they forgot about me, but more of like you set them up with such a good foundation of being able to respond on their own, which is just
Yeah.
fantastic. You should be very proud of yourself.
Thank you.
What is university like and being on your own for the first time ever?
All sibling and family aside that I miss and everything, I absolutely love it. It is the best thing I have ever done.
That's
I'm living probably nearly 4 hours away from home, so it's quite far. It's not just easy to nip back and get anything that I've forgotten, or if I just want to nip back for the weekend, it's quite a trek. But I have made some I've made some lifelong friends. I have joined societies. I don't know if you have them in America. um, I
clubs. Clubs. No. Noelle is no help. Noelle does not know either.
I have no
so
idea.
I'm in a hiking society. Um,
Okay, yes.
yes,
Clubs. That's
yeah,
awesome.
and that just I've made so many friends on that, and we go out every Sunday, and that especially for like my mental health is amazing. We're right next to the Peak District as well, so it is absolutely stunning. It's so nice.
Mountains, Jen.
Yeah.
Mountains.
I almost put that together. Then I was like, but food district, like what? That's awesome.
Yeah,
It is crazy how much that can help your mental health and just give you a break, just
yeah,
being out in nature and not behind a screen or attached to something. I'm so glad you're able to do that.
That was something that you did on your own. Like that was what, like the first week that you were there, you were like, "Oh yeah, join the hiking society," or whatever you call it. Which is amazing because that
Yes,
takes guts. Like not everybody is willing to put themselves out there. And I think you went to uni with the perspective of you were going to dive into everything. And I think most people go into that thinking that. I think I did, but I didn't dive into a single thing at university. Like I didn't even leave home. I lived at home for college and thought that I was putting myself out there, but I wasn't at all.
I definitely I lived at home too.
You've done amazing. Would you be willing to talk a little bit about your mental health and struggles you've had
Yes.
leading up to leaving for uni? And I also want to talk about the mental health perspective in England versus the US.
Yeah, so I think one of the main things that I was thinking about when you first brought up this topic was how almost lucky I've been with like getting therapy as well, because so I struggle with anxiety and depression and possibly OCD.
Me too, Ellie. We're like meant to be. This is just crazy. So many coincidences.
I think with the NHS, I realised that I was kind of in a bit of a low place and not knowing how to get out, and I managed to get talking therapies with the NHS, and obviously over here that's completely free. And then while I was thinking about that, I was like, do you guys not get that for free because you don't have the NHS? Is that just absolutely extortionate?
So you can get it cheaper if you have insurance. So like a copay for me would be like $45. Like, and a different insurance I
Per
had
session.
like per session. And then a different one I had at one point, it was like 65 per session. And then if you don't have any insurance, it's like well over $100 out of pocket. So my question to you is, are you like with therapy, are you able to look into different therapists and choose a therapist, or is a therapist chosen for you?
So a therapist was chosen for me, and I've been so lucky because she is one of the nicest people that I've ever spoken to. It's
Awesome.
all online, and it's like this every week, a little Zoom meeting, and we kind of put together a regime of what we're going to do in the session and how I want it to go, like what I want to get out of the session. And I think every single one so far has been really, really helpful. I think moving away to uni with like obviously the anxiety part of it, I was so nervous, like almost to the point where I was like feeling ill because I was so like worried about moving. But I think it's almost just the fear of the unknown for me. It's just I was moving away from a small town to a big city on my own, but since being here, it has been so much better because I think I've kind of gained the independence that I've wanted and been able to see, like, on my own, okay, this is all right. I can do this. This doesn't panic me. This doesn't worry me. This doesn't upset me. And been able to see what it's like for myself.
You think therapy helped you with that, being able to cope with the changes?
Absolutely, yeah.
Is like therapy and mental health something that you would find yourself talking about with your friends? Because obviously, for me, like in the US, I probably wasn't having those conversations until I was a little bit older, but it definitely, and I think that Jenna, you can probably speak to this too, but I think a huge amount of progress has been made in those conversations and sort of minimizing the stigma. I wouldn't say ending it, but I'm curious because obviously I've never been a teenager growing up in the UK. I know just some of the differences that I've observed just being married to a British person and seeing the difference in just like coping mechanisms and how that discussion about feelings and like mental health is sometimes taken and sometimes not taken.
Again, I've been extremely lucky with who I've been put in a flat with this year, because it was completely by chance who you're assigned like a flat with. And I absolutely adore everyone in my flat. And I think being so close with them really, really helps me talking about my mental health. And before I had therapy, I wouldn't ever find myself talking about how I was feeling. If I was upset, I would curl up in a ball and lay in bed all day, not want to speak to many people. If I was happy, the whole world would know about it and I would be skipping up and down. But I think since I've kind of spoken about it, I've kind of seen that it is okay to speak to everyone about it, and it's okay to say, sorry, I'm having a bit of a bad day, or like, can I speak about my bad day? And I've been really lucky that all my friends are so understanding and they know that they can come to me as well. So I think that really, really helps.
Ellie, you're a fantastic person. The underlying that I'm getting from all of these conversations is you just want to be available and to help people.
Absolutely.
And you're comfortable or willing to be open with your struggles so that somebody else doesn't feel alone. That's what I'm gathering from this conversation. And I think that's just completely amazing because it's not easy to do for everybody, being able to talk about your struggles, but you're probably helping so many people without even knowing that you're doing
And
so.
that's what I'd want to do. Like, I think if someone spoke to me about their anxiety or something that they're feeling down about, I would 100% feel so much more comfortable to speak to them. So I think being the person to make the first move to make people feel more comfortable and feel like they have someone to talk to is so important.
And can you imagine this like a year or two ago, you being how you are right now?
Absolutely not.
Oh, amazing. And I'm sure you were fantastic then, just like you are now, but the growth and just the courage that you must have, it's remarkable.
Since moving away, I've definitely come out of my shell, and I think before I was still wanting to help people, but I wasn't as willing to put myself out there to be like, oh yeah, I'll help you. I was kind of just like, oh, well, I'm here if you need.
Yep, that's awesome.
We need to talk about this because I brought this up to you recently and I said, can you imagine if you would have. So you were in your first relationship, like serious relationship, shortly before moving to uni. And
Mhm.
for anybody that knows my wife, who is the devil's advocate on everything and is paranoid about everything, Jenna, basically said to Ellie, well, when you break up with your boyfriend, and this is like young
Awesome.
Ellie is thinking, I think I'll stay in this relationship because I think that was the plan, right? Like when you went to uni, you were thinking that this was a long-term relationship. I do think it's really important for young people to listen to the fact that you thought genuinely that like that was a relationship that, when you first started planning to even go to uni, you were trying to figure out, okay, do I want to go closer to home? Do I want to, do I want to go far away? And ultimately, you did make the decision that you were going to go farther, but you guys were going to kind of make that relationship work. And ultimately, now you have gone to university as a young single person. And you and I were just talking recently about, can you imagine, had you been in a relationship going away to university, how much of a different experience you would have? And this is no disrespect to anybody that goes to university in a relationship. I think you have been able to put yourself out there so much more because you made a really difficult decision to end that relationship and to go to university on your own and just be in that moment, I think. And that wasn't something that you took lightly, I don't think. And it wasn't something that you thought, oh, well, this is just going to be an easy decision. I know it wasn't. And so I think about that constantly, about the fact that that would have been such a different dynamic.
Yeah, I think I I don't know if anyone that listens to this would be going to university or like will be about to go to university, but I do not think that if you're going to university, you shouldn't be in a relationship. If you are with like the right person or who you think is going to be the right person, if you can make it work, amazing. It's great. But I think for me, I was moving to university was a way of me seeking independence, and I think trying to get the independence from like my siblings, from my parents, from like the life I had at home, I think it was only best for me for it to be completely, I'm diving into the deep end on my own. I want to be able to experience this on my own. I want to be able to like go out and like meet loads of friends and not feel guilty about not communicating all the time, and like being able to kind of do whatever I wanted to see like who I was.
That's amazing.
Isn't she the
You
best?
are wise. You are wise beyond your years.
Talking about mental health a little bit, how important is it for you to have the tools in your back pocket because of the profession that you are going into, which you've said is you really want to go into like pediatric oncology, right?
Yeah, so I think so. I'm currently doing pediatric nursing at uni, so it's already quite specified. I'm hoping to do oncology. I think for me, the tools for my mental health are all active. Like if I can get out hiking, if I can get out running, anything, it absolutely it calms me down. It makes me feel happy. But I think the profession I'm in, it's amazing and awful at the same time. The highs are high, the lows are low. We're going to be doing 12-hour shifts. Some of them are going to be night shifts. We have to do 2,300 hours of unpaid placement before we even qualify. So I think it's going to be a struggle, but it's absolutely what I want to do when I'm older. So I think with that in mind and the support I've got around me of all my friends and my course mates that are also going through the same thing and hiking and running and just anything active, I think it's going to be amazing.
Well, I think you've set yourself up with so many great tools. Like you have your therapist, you have everybody around you that you're willing to talk to, and realizing that for you, you need that break and that exercise and the being outside. And I think that's awesome. And that's probably what's going to get you through this, still smiling, even though some days can be very difficult. I just think it's amazing that you have that plan set up for yourself.
Yeah, it's like, especially so on Monday last week, I've fractured my wrist, but from that, I've had a few really really low days. Like I've not been able to go out on hike because we've had snow the past couple of days here,
Yeah.
so I couldn't go out on a hike because I risked slipping and hurting it more. And I did have a really really low few days. But I think like today the sun's been out and I woke up really early this morning. I texted my friend and I was like, can we please go on a run this morning? The ice is cleared, my wrist feels okay. Can we just go, even if we run, walk, whatever you feel is best for you? And we went out, we were out for like an hour. We ended up doing like 7 or 8K. And the sun was out, we were running along a river and it was so pretty. And I've just had the best day today because that's how my day started.
I love that.
Ellie, my wife is growing a tiny human inside of her, but would you like to talk about what you are preparing to do in April? My wife is going to be giving birth to that tiny human in April, but what are you doing in April?
I know. So I think her due date is like 3 days before I do this, but I'm running the London Marathon in April for Children with Cancer charity, and I'm absolutely terrified, to be honest. It's 42 kilometers of hell, but that's what I'm training for. I absolutely love running, and the atmosphere is going to be absolutely amazing. And I'm fundraising for such a good cause, and it's what I want to do when I'm older. So
We've had conversations before about running, and I am a very fast walker and would do a walk race. I would never run. You couldn't pay me to run. I would be passed out before like you even like round a bend. You'd be like, "Where's Jenna?" "Oh, she's on the ground." But that's okay. I think it's fantastic that you can do it. That's absolutely crazy. And you're setting some high goals for yourself for this year. There's so many people that shy away from those kind of things where it could feel impossible to do. So people are just like, maybe I'll do it in a year or two. But you're just going right in. Like, what an amazing year for you.
I think I've set myself quite a few things this year that I've wanted to do. I've made like a bingo board that to like tick off when I've done it. But I think it kind of ties in with like the moving away to university. And I'd say, like as Noelle said, the like literally going headfirst into the deep end and putting myself out there for what I wanted to do. And I think it's so important with moving away and doing it because you get so many good experiences out of it. And I think one of my other ones is I'm going to run 100 kilometers in February, as I think Noelle's doing it as well.
Yes, you did tell me you were doing that, and we have it on camera, so it's definitely happening. And I said that I would do it as well, but I'm walking it.
Do you want to talk about why you guys do your 100 kilometers every February?
I actually haven't managed to do it yet because last year, the end of February, I got ill and I stopped at like 85 and I was very, very annoyed. But this year I'm going to do it. So it started out with my dad and my auntie running it for my uncle who sadly passed away from cancer. But I really, really want to join in, and it's like a little tribute to him. We do it in his memory. We get out and get active, and I think it for them it helps take their mind off of it a bit. And obviously I don't know if it's for me, it's definitely a mental health thing, getting out and being able to run around freely.
So Beth's birthday and Tim's birthday were the same day, so it was February 25th. So they do it in February for the birthday month, and because it's the shortest month, so it's the hardest month to get 100 kilometers in.
We need the 3 extra days.
Exactly.
I do have a question. So, when do you leave there to go back home? Do you like when's the end of your year?
So with nursing, we don't actually get any holidays. So we had 2 weeks at Christmas. My next time off is a week in May, but it's like a Thursday to a Thursday. So it's not just like it's all my siblings will still be at school, my parents will still be at work. So I'm not sure if I'm going to go back. But after that, we don't finish placement until the end mid-August. So probably then.
You had a little bit of a hard time going back home after your independence, and I think that's probably not uncommon, is it? Like, whenever you are used to not having anybody worrying about, well, not worrying about where you are, but, like, being able to do whatever you want when you want, and then going back to being under the roof of your parents and, like, your house that you know, have kind of gotten freedom from. What was that experience like for you?
First things first, it was really weird. I think, as you said, I've kind of built. It's been 3 months at this point, so I kind of in that time built my life here. So then going back, yeah, it was absolutely lovely to see everyone, and it was because it had been the whole time that I'd gone without seeing them. I didn't go home at all. They didn't come and see me. I just dove straight in and was like, I'm not going to come back, and I'm going to let myself settle. I went back for, I think it was about 2.5 weeks altogether. And my bedroom at my dad's was no longer my bedroom. My bedroom at my mum's was no longer my bedroom. And it was a really weird experience to kind of see the house I'd grown up in just not be my house. I think it was nice to see everyone. And even though I wasn't in my room, it was nice to stay. But I think I was so eager to get back to like my life that I had built here. And because I'm just so happy, like everyone here is so lovely. And I have my routines here, like the going hiking, the running, what I do with my friends, going out on a Wednesday, everything with uni. It's all settled in a routine and what I like to do. So I think I was eager to come back, but it was really lovely to see everyone.
So when you graduate, is that what you call it? Graduate? Okay, thank you. When you graduate, listen, study is not study. So I'm like
It's
asking
true.
everything. When you graduate, is your thought right now, and I know this can change, to stay where you are and work in a hospital there or go closer to home?
I've got two kind of plans in my head at the moment. One of them is to stay here. So for my third year placement, I've got Sheffield as my placement area. And so I'm trying to get it so that I get the Sheffield Children's Hospital because it's one of 4 children's hospitals in the UK.
Oh, wow.
So if I get a placement there and it's my last placement, then it's kind of like a trial run for a job, and they tend to keep on third year nurses to work thereafter. So I think if I can manage to do that, it would be such a good experience. And we get at least one placement there anyway. So even if it's not my last one, I could try. But if not, they're building a children's hospital kind of near where I'm from. So I might head back down and see like where it takes me. But then there was something in my head that made me want to, in second year, we're allowed to travel for our placement. We're allowed to apply for like a bursary that lets you go to, I think it's Australia, Sri Lanka.
Do you come to the US and stay with me? Hello?
Yes.
I will create a room for you. Ella, you can have Ella's room. Literally just sitting there.
But I think if I have an experience like that in second year and I really, really enjoy it and I get to witness like what nursing's like in other countries, if I find somewhere I like, then I might travel for a bit and be like a travel nurse or something like that.
That's awesome. I love that you're not limiting yourself. It kind of seems like going through the divorce, which is an awful, difficult thing to go through, some good has come from it. And I try to find good, and I'm sure you do the same through every situation so that I'm not looking back at something like that was so awful and it was just awful. But it's like, oh wait, but because of that, it gave me more independence. Do you see it that way?
Me living at home wouldn't see it that way. I think when I'm kind of in the situation, I'm a bit like, oh, this is awful. And there's nothing to do about it. I absolutely hate it. It's really weird, but I kind of see it. I've moved north and I feel like I'm like above everything. Like I'm kind of I'm still with everything, but I'm like foreseeing it from like above. I'm not. It's down below. All my worries are down there.
So you're looking down on the rest of us. That's great, Ellie. You think
Absolutely.
you're so much better than
I
us.
mean, of course she is. I hear her speaking. She should be looking down on everybody. Her people are below her. Of course. Ellie, you're so much fun. I feel like you and I should talk. You could like coach with me.
Absolutely.
So Ellie, we always end each of our episodes with a
glimmer.
glimmer. Speaking of
Yes.
finding the good. Yes. Oh, that's great. Now we have listeners, Jen. They're on to us.
That's exciting. That means she gets to go first because she's clearly been thinking about it, and I, for once, do not have to.
Perfect. Go on, Ellie. Tell us your glimmer.
I have not.
You see how it feels, Ellie? Now you know how I feel.
I would like to go first with my glimmer. And remember, this can just be like, it's just like something small or something major. It's basically the opposite of a trigger, which sort of sends you into, Jenna, what would you say? Like what is a trigger? Like it sends you
just into like a downward spiral.
right. So a glimmer kind of sends you into like an upward spiral, sort of.
Sort of like you up on the mountain, looking
Yes.
down.
It
Yes.
sends you on the mountain. So
Yeah.
my glimmer that sent me on the mountain is that Ellie helped to make my future baby a reality because Elizabeth, my wife, allowed her to do several of her stimulant injections during IVF because she is going for pediatric nursing. So technically, her little baby cousin that is on their way in April, hopefully not at the same exact time that she's running the marathon, will be in existence partially because of Ellie.
That's awesome.
Ellie, did you make her bleed?
You
A bit. She makes it out as if it was pouring with blood. She's like, she stabbed me.
Of course. I'm not surprised by that, actually. Yeah. That's great.
All right, Jen or Ellie.
I don't want to steal your glimmer now, but you've reminded me.
Oh, you're not stealing that glimmer. Don't even think you're getting out of this by stealing that glimmer. You are glimmering on your own, Ellie. No. You can do 2 glimmers then. That can be partial glimmer. Ellie, you already said a glimmer today. Think back to your day, Ellie. What did you do this morning?
I went on a run and it was so sunny and it was absolutely beautiful. And the sun was shining through the trees and I was with my friend and we went to have breakfast after. And I've been thinking about this all day as well. And it's just been amazing. I've been so excited.
Now you still don't have a glimmer, and that's why I'm trying to waste time in this and like things up. I'm gonna go with your glimmer because I'm sitting here and looking outside and the sun is shining. And yesterday, like you, it was so cold and dreary and miserable. Actually, the last few days, same with you guys. And it just changes your attitude completely. So I try to find ways like in those days to keep busy so I don't have as much downtime. But today it's like I may sit for 5 minutes and actually just enjoy the weather, which is still freezing, but at least the sun is shining.
Yeah.
Ellie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
It has been a pleasure. I love you. I'm so proud of you. You're amazing.
I'm so proud of you too. I feel like I've known you forever, so I'm just going to pretend that I do, and I am so
proud of her too.
Thank you so much.
I
love you guys.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Life and Death podcast. Please be sure to leave us a review and comment to let us know what you thought of the episode. And don't forget to follow us so you never miss an update. You can email us at lifeanddeathpodcast@gmail.com. You'll find Jenna on Instagram under the handle Jenna Marie Life Coaching, and I, Noelle, can be found at Noelle E. Carlin.
Life and death through ups and downs, finding smiles beyond the frowns. Stay with us, we'll light the way. See you next time, bright and gay.